Imagine waking up one day and realizing that everything you've built to protect yourself has become your prison. The routines that once gave you peace now suffocate you. The boundaries you drew to keep pain out have also locked possibility away. You look around at your carefully constructed life, the predictable job, the safe relationships, the familiar patterns, and feel a creeping sensation that something vital inside you is dying. This isn't depression. It's worse. It's the slow, silent assassination of your potential by your own hand. You tell yourself you're being responsible, mature, that you've learned from past mistakes and now you're playing it smart. But deep down, in that place where truth lives before words corrupted, you know something else. You're not living anymore. You're just avoiding death. How did this happen? When did safety become more important than aliveness? When did you trade your dreams for guarantees that don't even exist? Think about the last time you felt truly alive. Not happy, alive. That electric sensation when every cell in your body vibrates with possibility. When time dissolves and you're so present that past and future cease to exist. When was it? Months ago? Years? Can you even remember? Now think about yesterday. What did you do? The same things you did the day before, the week before, the month before. You've become so good at avoiding discomfort that you've also become an expert at avoiding life itself. Here's what nobody tells you about comfort zones. They're not static. They shrink. Every day you choose safety over growth, your world gets a little smaller. Every time you say no to uncertainty, you say no to a piece of yourself. And the terrifying truth is that most people don't notice until it's too late, until they're living in a box so small they can't even turn around. But you feel it, don't you? That restlessness, that nagging sense that you're meant for something more, that voice that whispers in quiet moments, this isn't it, this can't be it. You try to silence it with distractions, social media, Netflix, busy work, small pleasures that momentarily numb the ache, but it always returns, stronger each time, because truth doesn't care about your comfort. It demands to be acknowledged. What if I told you that this discomfort you're running from is actually your soul trying to save you? What if the very thing you're avoiding is the medicine you need? What if your comfort zone isn't protecting you, it's slowly murdering everything you could become? The most insidious part is how reasonable it all seems. Of course you should avoid unnecessary risks. Of course you should learn from past pain. Of course you should be practical. But when did practical become a synonym for dead inside? You've confused comfort with happiness, safety with success, predictability with peace. And in doing so, you've created a life that looks good on paper, but feels like a betrayal of everything you once dreamed you'd be. The question that should haunt you isn't whether you're comfortable. It's whether you'll reach the end of your life and realize you never actually lived it. Whether you'll look back and see not a story of triumph and failure, joy and heartbreak, risk and reward, but just one long gray line of sameness. A life measured not in moments, but in years survived. Is that enough for you? Is survival the height of your ambition? Or is there something in you that still remembers what it feels like to burn with purpose, to chase something worth failing for, to be so engaged with life that comfort becomes irrelevant? The comfortable life is the unlived life. And the tragedy isn't that you're choosing it. It's that you're choosing it one small decision at a time, so gradually that you don't even notice your soul slowly suffocating under the weight of your own caution. The comfort zone is not what you think it is.
It's not a place of rest or peace. It's a psychological construct born from your brain's most primitive survival mechanism, a mechanism that hasn't evolved to handle the complexities of modern existence. Your brain, that 3-pound universe between your ears, operates on a simple principle: minimize threat, maximize survival. Every second of every day, it's scanning for danger, cataloging patterns, creating predictions. When something worked yesterday without killing you, your brain marks it as safe and pushes you to repeat it. This is the neurological birth of the comfort zone, not a conscious choice, but an ancient program running beneath your awareness. Carl Jung understood this prison better than most. He called it the regressive restoration of the persona, the tendency to retreat into a false self when faced with the demands of growth. You create a mask, a role, a set of behaviors that seem to work, and then you become enslaved to maintaining this illusion. The comfort zone isn't just where you hide from the world, it's where you hide from yourself. But here's where it gets darker. Your brain doesn't distinguish between physical danger and psychological discomfort. The same neural pathways that once protected your ancestors from predators now fire when you consider speaking up in a meeting, starting that business, or having that difficult conversation. Your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, can't tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and a job interview. This is what Nietzsche meant when he wrote about the last man, the human who has sacrificed everything meaningful for the sake of comfort and security. What is love? What is creation? What is longing? What is a star? The last man asks and blinks. He has made himself small, predictable, comfortable. He has eliminated risk, and with it, eliminated life. The modern world has perfected this process. We've created entire systems designed to keep you in your comfort zone. Social media algorithms feed you exactly what you already believe. Career paths promise security in exchange for your dreams. Relationships offer companionship as long as you don't rock the boat. Even our language betrays us. We call it settling down, as if the highest human achievement is to stop moving, stop growing, stop becoming. Schopenhauer saw through this illusion with brutal clarity. He recognized that humans swing between two states, want and boredom. When we want something, we suffer. When we get it, we're briefly satisfied, then bored. So we create comfort zones, spaces where we minimize both want and boredom, living in a kind of psychological purgatory, neither truly suffering nor truly alive. But the comfort zone is more than just a personal prison. It's a societal control mechanism. Aldous Huxley predicted this in Brave New World, a society that controls not through force, but through comfort. Give people enough pleasure, enough distraction, enough false security, and they'll willingly surrender their freedom. They'll even defend their cages. Think about how this plays out in your life. You stay in the job that slowly crushes your spirit because it pays well. You maintain relationships that drain you because being alone feels scarier. You abandon dreams because pursuing them might mean temporary discomfort. You've been conditioned to see comfort as the ultimate good and discomfort as the ultimate evil. But here's what Jung discovered in his work with thousands of patients. The psyche doesn't want comfort. It wants wholeness. It wants integration. It wants to become what it's meant to be. And this process, what Jung called individuation, requires you to face everything you've been avoiding: your shadow, your fears, your unlived life. The comfort zone is where you store your unlived life. Every dream you've postponed, every conversation you've avoided, every risk you haven't taken, they don't disappear. They accumulate in your unconscious, growing heavier with each passing day. This is why comfort eventually becomes unbearable. It's not empty, it's full of everything you've refused to become. Viktor Frankl, surviving the Nazi concentration camps, discovered something that challenges our entire notion of comfort. Humans can endure almost any suffering if it has meaning, but they cannot endure meaningless comfort. The comfort zone isn't just destroying your potential, it's robbing your life of meaning. Your brain will always push you toward the familiar, the safe, the known. This is its job. But your soul has a different agenda. It wants expansion, expression, evolution. And this creates the central conflict of human existence, the battle between who you are and who you're becoming. The comfort zone promises to resolve this conflict by stopping your becoming. It whispers, "Stay here, it's safe. You don't need to grow anymore." But this is the ultimate lie, because you can't stop becoming. You can only become consciously or unconsciously. You can only grow or decay. There is no stasis in nature, and you are nature. The unseen consequences. You don't see it happening because it happens in millimeters. Each day you choose comfort over growth, you lose a piece of yourself so small you don't notice. But compound this over months, years, decades, and you wake up a stranger to yourself. The first casualty is your creativity. When you stop exposing yourself to new experiences, new challenges, new forms of discomfort, your brain literally begins to prune neural pathways. The connections that once sparked innovation, that saw possibilities where others saw walls, begin to atrophy. You find yourself thinking the same thoughts, having the same conversations, solving problems the same way. Your mind, once a vast network of potential, becomes a series of well-worn grooves. Then comes the emotional numbing. Your nervous system, designed to experience the full spectrum of human emotion, begins to narrow its range. You can't selectively numb. When you armor yourself against disappointment, rejection, and failure, you also armor yourself against joy, connection, and triumph. You become a muted version of yourself, living life at 40% intensity, wondering why nothing feels quite real anymore. Watch how this plays out in your relationships. Comfort zones don't exist in isolation. They're contagious. You unconsciously seek out others who won't challenge your limitations. You create echo chambers of mutual stagnation. Your conversations become predictable scripts. Your connections lack depth because depth requires vulnerability, and vulnerability lives outside the comfort zone. The research is devastating. Studies show that people who consistently avoid challenges experience accelerated cognitive decline. Their brains literally shrink. The hippocampus, responsible for memory and learning, decreases in volume. The prefrontal cortex, your executive function center, weakens. You're not just avoiding growth, you're actively promoting decay. But the invisible consequences truly destroy you. The dreams that die so quietly you don't even hold funerals for them. The version of yourself that could have existed but never will. The contributions you could have made but didn't. These ghosts accumulate, and though you can't see them, you feel their weight. Consider what psychologists call anticipated regret, your brain's ability to project forward and imagine how you'll feel about today's choices. Research shows that people consistently underestimate how much they regret the chances not taken, the risks not pursued, the growth not embraced. We think we'll regret our failures, but we actually regret our failures to try. The comfort zone also corrupts your perception of time. When every day resembles the last, your brain stops encoding new memories. This is why years can feel like minutes when you're stuck in routine. You're not creating memorable experiences, so your brain literally has nothing to record. You're living, but you're not accumulating life. There's a neurological basis for this. Novel experiences trigger the release of dopamine, which not only makes you feel good, but also enhances memory formation. When you stop seeking novelty, you stop creating the neurochemical conditions for memorable experiences. Your life becomes a blur, not because time speeds up, but because there's nothing worth remembering. The social consequences compound the personal ones. A society of comfort seekers becomes a society in decline. Innovation stagnates. Art becomes repetitive. Conversations lose depth. We create cultures of complaint rather than cultures of creation. Everyone talks about what's wrong, but few have the courage to step outside their comfort zones to fix it. We've created a pharmaceutical comfort zone,
numbing the very signals that could guide us towards meaningful lives. The comfort zone even corrupts your relationship with truth. When you're invested in maintaining your current state, you become allergic to any information that might challenge it. You develop what psychologists call motivated reasoning, the ability to rationalize anything that keeps you comfortable and reject anything that doesn't. You don't seek truth, you seek confirmation. This is how people wake up at 40, 50, 60, wondering where their lives went. Not in some dramatic moment of crisis, but in a quiet recognition that they've been sleepwalking. They've been so focused on avoiding what they fear that they've also avoided what they love. They've been so committed to safety that they've forgotten what they're staying safe for. The ultimate infatuation of the comfort zone is how it redefines your identity. You start to believe you are your limitations.
I'm not a public speaker. I'm not creative. I'm not the kind of person who... These aren't truths. They're comfort zone propaganda. But repeat them long enough, and they become self-fulfilling prophecies. Your potential doesn't disappear, it just gets buried under layers of unexpressed possibility. And the weight of that unlived life doesn't go away. It manifests as depression, anxiety, addiction, rage. All the symptoms of a soul trying to break free from a self-imposed prison. The comfort zone isn't protecting you from failure. It's guaranteeing a different kind of failure. The failure to become who you're capable of being. And unlike the failure that comes from trying and falling short, this failure offers no lessons, no growth, no stories worth telling. Just the slow, quiet tragedy of a life unlived. The rebellion. How to break free. The way out isn't what you think. It's not about massive action or dramatic life changes. The comfort zone is too clever for that. Try to escape all at once, and your brain will sabotage you with such precision you'll be back in your cage before you know what happened, now with additional evidence that change is impossible. The rebellion begins with a single, counterintuitive truth. Discomfort is not your enemy, it's your compass. Every time you feel that familiar tightening in your chest, that voice saying, maybe not, that urge to retreat, you're not experiencing a warning, you're experiencing a doorway. Start small, ridiculously small. James Clear calls it the 2-minute rule, but the ancients knew this wisdom long before. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, cold baths, sleeping on floors, fasting, not as punishment, but as inoculation. They understood that the person who regularly chooses small discomforts becomes immune to the tyranny of comfort. Tomorrow, take a different route to work. Not because the new route is better, but because it's different. Your brain will resist. It will tell you this is stupid, inefficient, pointless. Good. That resistance is exactly what you're training against. You're teaching your nervous system that novelty isn't danger, that change isn't death. Order something different at your regular restaurant. Speak up in a meeting when you normally stay silent. Send that message you've been drafting in your head for months. Each small act of rebellion weakens the comfort zone's grip. But here's where most people fail. They treat discomfort as something to endure rather than something to explore. When you feel uncomfortable, don't just white-knuckle through it. Get curious. What exactly feels threatening? What story is your brain telling? What would happen if that story were wrong? Sartre called this radical freedom, the terrifying recognition that you're free to choose differently at any moment. The comfort zone's ultimate power is convincing you that you're not free, that you're locked into your patterns. But every moment offers a choice. Every breath is an opportunity to choose expansion over contraction. The Japanese have a concept called kaizen, continuous small improvements. But apply this to discomfort. Each day, do one thing that makes you slightly uncomfortable. Not terrified, that triggers shutdown. Just uncomfortable enough that you notice your edge and then lean into it gently. Document your rebellions. Your brain has a negativity bias. It will remember the one time stepping outside your comfort zone went poorly and forget the 99 times it led to growth. Keep a record. Write down what you did, how it felt, what happened. You're gathering evidence that the comfort zone is a liar. Find your tribe of edgewalkers. Comfort zones are socially reinforced. When everyone around you is playing small feels normal. Seek out people who normalize growth, who celebrate your attempts, who share their own edgewalking stories, not to compete, but to remember that expansion is possible. Here's a practice that changes everything. Instead of asking, what's the worst that could happen, ask, what's the best that could happen? Your brain is already expert at catastrophizing. Balance it with possibility. What if that conversation goes well? What if that risk pays off? What if you're stronger than you think? The ancient Greeks had a word, irete. It means excellence, but not in comparison to others. It means becoming the fullest expression of what you are. This requires constant expansion, constant challenge, constant growth. The comfort zone is the antithesis of arete. It's the choice to remain a seed rather than become the tree. But rebellion isn't just about doing uncomfortable things. It's about changing your relationship with discomfort itself. Stop seeing it as something to overcome and start seeing it as information. Discomfort tells you where your edges are. It shows you where growth is possible. It's your potential trying to get your attention. The paradox is this: the more you practice discomfort, the more comfortable you become with being uncomfortable. You develop what psychologists call distress tolerance, the ability to remain functional and even thrive in uncertain conditions. This isn't about becoming hard or unfeeling. It's about becoming resilient, adaptable, alive. Viktor Frankl discovered in the concentration camps that the people who survived weren't necessarily the physically strongest. They were the ones who maintained their ability to choose their response. Even in the ultimate comfort zone violation, the complete loss of external control, they found freedom in choosing their internal stance. You don't need a concentration camp to practice this freedom. Every moment your comfort zone says no, you can choose yes. Every time fear counsels retreat, you can choose advance, not recklessly, but consciously. Not to prove something, but to become something. The ultimate rebellion is this: stop negotiating with your comfort zone. Stop asking its permission to live your life. It will never give it. It will always have reasonable sounding excuses for why now isn't the time, why you're not ready, why safety is smarter. But you weren't born to be safe. You were born to grow, to express, to become. And every moment you spend in your comfort zone is a moment stolen from your becoming. The rebellion isn't about being uncomfortable all the time. It's about being willing to be uncomfortable when growth requires it. And growth always requires it.
The ultimate truth, the final, most powerful realization. Here's what no one tells you about the comfort zone. It doesn't exist. Sit with that for a moment. The thing you've been fighting, the prison you've been trying to escape, the enemy you've been battling, it's a ghost, a story, a collective hallucination we've agreed to believe in. There is no zone, there are only choices. Millions of tiny choices that either expand or contract you. The comfort zone is just the name we give to our pattern of choosing contraction. But patterns can be broken, stories can be rewritten, ghosts can be exorcised. The ultimate truth is more radical than escape. It's recognition. You are not trapped in a comfort zone. You are the comfort zone. You create it, maintain it, and reinforce it with every choice. Which means, and this is the liberation hidden in the terror, you can uncreate it just as easily. But here's where it gets profound. The opposite of the comfort zone isn't the discomfort zone. It's not about seeking pain or difficulty for its own sake. The opposite of the comfort zone is presence. Full, radical, undefended presence to what is. When you're fully present, there is no zone. There's only this moment, this choice, this opportunity to respond rather than react. The comfort zone exists in time.
in memories of past pain and projections of future fear. But in presence, there is only what is. And what is, stripped of story, is rarely as threatening as what might be. This is what the mystics knew, what Jung glimpsed in his concept of individuation, what Nietzsche pointed to with his amor fati, love of fate. When you're fully present, you stop trying to control life and start dancing with it. You stop seeing challenges as threats and start seeing them as invitations. The deepest realization is this: you've been asking the wrong question. It's not, how do I escape my comfort zone? It's, who would I be without it? Because here's the terrifying, liberating truth. Without your comfort zone, without your carefully constructed limitations, without your stories about who you are and aren't, you're infinite. Not in some new age mystical sense, but in the practical sense that your potential for growth, change, and becoming has no predetermined limit. You've been living as if you're a fixed entity trying to navigate a dangerous world, but you're not a thing. You're a process. You're not a noun. You're a verb. You're not being, you're becoming. And becoming doesn't have a comfort zone because becoming is constant transformation. This changes everything. Instead of trying to push yourself out of your comfort zone, you recognize there's nowhere to push from or nowhere to push to. There's only the next choice, the next breath, the opportunity to choose expansion over contraction, presence over protection, life over death. The Buddhists have a saying, die before you die. They're not talking about physical death. They're talking about the death of everything false, everything limiting, everything that says, I can't, when life says you must. Your comfort zone is composed of everything in you that needs to die for who you truly are to be born. But this death isn't violent. It's more like ice melting into water. Same essence, new form, infinite new possibilities for flow. Your rigid patterns, your fixed beliefs, your comfortable limitations, they're all ice, and presence is the sun that melts them. Here's the practice that changes everything. Stop trying to leave your comfort zone and start recognizing when you're creating it. Notice the moment you contract, the instant you choose the familiar over the possible, the second you say, I can't, before you've even tried. That's the birth of the comfort zone happening in real time. And in that noticing, you have a choice. The ultimate freedom isn't the freedom from discomfort. It's the freedom to choose your response to discomfort. It's the recognition that you're not a victim of your patterns. You're their author. And authors can always write new stories. This is why the comfort zone, for all its apparent safety, is actually the riskiest place you can be. Because the biggest risk in life is not failure, it's never discovering who you could have become. It's reaching the end with your potential intact, unused, wasted. The poet Rumi wrote, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." What you really love lives outside your comfort zone, not because love is uncomfortable, but because love demands your full presence, your complete participation, your wholehearted engagement. And wholehearted engagement has no room for zones. So the question isn't whether you'll leave your comfort zone. The question is whether you'll recognize that you've been free all along, that every moment offers a door, that who you are is so much vaster than who you've been pretending to be. Your life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. And mysteries aren't comfortable. They're wild, unpredictable, alive. Just like you, once you stop choosing the slow death of comfort and start choosing the vibrant uncertainty of growth. The comfort zone isn't destroying you. You're destroying you
by believing in the comfort zone. So stop believing, start living, start choosing, start becoming. The door is open. It's always been open. The only question is, will you walk through?